addressing budget shortfalls in athletics compared with other conferences?
Trustees obviously have a right to the information. It's obviously a time of significant upheaval in college athletics. I'd be very surprised if there was any mismanagement, let alone malfeasance, in our athletics department. They're audited routinely. They've been audited 10 times in the last 5 years. They're audited every year by the NCAA. And I would just add that our athletic director is one of the most senior, well-respected, well-regarded, admired athletic directors in the country. He has broad respect from his peers, and we don't have a more capable, more experienced, more talented senior administrator here at Carolina.
Do you think Carolina's future remains in the ACC is the smart thing to do, or the wise course moving forward amid that chaos as you talk about?
There's a lot up in the air, and my job and the athletic director's job and the job of everyone in a leadership position here is to make sure that when the dust settles, Carolina is better off.
Senator Berger, when he talked to us a couple of weeks ago, was counseling patience on the whole question of conference realignment, and yet you have trustees who are actively saying that it's the administration just isn't doing enough to pursue realignment, and I'm wondering how you square the circle there.
Well, we're obviously very much aware of the conference realignment dynamics. We have an ACC board meeting next week. There's just a lot in flux. We have litigation pending against the ACC by 2 member schools. The ESPN television contract has a renewal period coming up in February of next year. There's a lot of discussion about settlement of these NIL cases across the country, which would have significant financial implications for all Power 5 schools. And so given how much is in flux, how much is changing, we just need to stay abreast of these dynamics and make sure that we're doing that with the best interest of Carolina in mind.
And to follow up on that, regarding conference realignment and the Big Four, given the academic relationships with Duke and Wake Forest that that Carolina has, how much do you all value maintaining the athletic relationships that that have made them the school's leading rival on the field for decades?
I think our fans value those historic rivalries. I think people here value those historic rivalries. Those are an important consideration among many considerations as we think about Carolina's future.
An important consideration among many doesn't suggest they're any sort of priority.
Well, we have multiple priorities.
Have you studied the House settlement, the outlines of the House settlement, and you may be counted on to vote on whether or not to accept the terms of that settlement here in the next week? Do you have any idea which way you might be leaning?
So I don't think I can say very much about settling pending litigation. There's obviously been a lot of discussion about that among the ACC presidents and chancellors, and of course around the country more broadly. I do believe that most folks think settling the litigation is going to be better than taking it through to a trial.
And you would be okay with Carolina then sharing revenue with student athletes moving forward? That's part of the settlement.
I haven't heard any possible settlement that doesn't involve some kind of revenue sharing.
Have you gotten any indication of how that would impact Title IX and other requirements that you would have?
Title IX is an important wild card in all of these settlement conversations. In the discussions that I've heard, there's a lot of uncertainty about how any settlement would affect Title IX. Obviously, it's an important legal obligation of ours. It's also an important obligation, an important commitment of ours away from our legal commitments. We have some of the best women's sports teams in the country here at Carolina, and so our obligations under Title IX are crucial to us.
And I guess one of the things that you do well at Carolina is sponsor a broad number of sports. As revenue sharing impacts a budget that obviously some people already have concerns about, are you concerned that there could be cutting of some sports?
I think it's too early to say. I've certainly heard that speculation, but would have to see what the final settlement would look like if there is a settlement.
We got time for 2 more.
You mentioned in the